Hello. I thought I'd better start by admitting that I am terrified. Hoping that it would alleviate the fear a bit. My first feeling when I was invited to give this short talk was fear, and so it felt important to say yes. I didn't want to turn down an opportunity to step into a cremation ground of this magnitude. So I was thinking, well, what drew me to ask for ordination? And I very clearly remember the actual moment when I decided that I definitely did want to ask for ordination. I was sitting on a hillside in a field where we hold a lot of our Buddha field retreats, looking out over the view towards Glastonbury Tor. And there was a bird of prey circling around in the sky in front of me. And suddenly I had a sense, a sureness, that asking for ordination was at bottom the kindest thing that I could do. Somehow it represented not holding myself back. And that sense, well, it felt deeply ethical, best for myself and for the world. And looking into that space, the sky and the landscape, I had a sense that it would be freeing to ask to join the order. It would unlock potential and yet be deeply grounded in the everyday. So I was considering what drew me towards this order in particular and what shaped my expectations of it. And I realised after I'd been writing this that the things that were most important in drawing me towards the order were reflections of the three jewels within it. So I think perhaps most importantly was the clarity of Bhante's communication of the Dharma. In a very direct way, this affected me because Bhante's clarity about going for refuge being the single most important thing in the spiritual life gave rise to a diversity of FWO contexts, and that meant that I found one that really engaged me. I've been going along to the Brighton Buddhist Centre for about 6 months when I noticed a postcard on the notice board advertising what turned out to be the first Buddha field retreat. As my friend Trey says, Bhante's emphasis on going for refuge is the primary thing, and lifestyle secondary to that means that we're able to do it in a field, naked. Well, I kind of enjoyed that, so I worked with Buddhafield for most of the next 11 years. And Buddhafield is a situation which is full of beauty. A good part of the year is spent outside in lovely areas of the country. It's rich in ritual, inspiration, and creativity. And it's also pretty tough. There's a lot of loading of vans, there's a lot of mud, and there's a lot of peeling up of plastic ground sheets, smelling of silage, and spending an hour in the slashing rain picking earthworms off the bottom before they can be packed away. And there's a lot of working with other people. One of the inspirations behind Buddhafield was to provide accessible environments other than city centres, where the elements are more present and conditions for transformation more vivid. I guess we thought of it as radical, in the sense of returning to the roots of the Buddhist tradition. And it's really interesting listening to Sri Devi and Vajradhaka. It's really echoes of that sense of idealism of the earlier days of the movements. So I was drawn to the intensity and idealism of it all, and I really like driving the big trucks. And being involved in the early stages of the evolution of Buddhafield often felt like we were reinventing the wheel. I think it helped me to have an understanding for how the institutions of the movement had grown, and it shaped my perception of the order. My experience was that our energies were engaged. We all mucked in and took lots of responsibility. There was a lot to do and a lot to throw ourselves into. We witnessed and encouraged each other's aspirations, and I made friendships that inspired and bound me. I was very impressed by the order members I encountered and their qualities, and it was clear to me that the conditions enabled us to develop and were also enabling others to come into contact with the Dharma. In short, it was, and still is, a situation which challenged us to be intensely alive. My conditions now are very different to those I had when I was working with Buddhafield, although no less demanding. They are a lot more restricted in a particular way. I have a son, Kia, who's just over 3 years old, and he's quite severely disabled and can be unwell a lot of the time. He has got this really amazing prosthetic eye, though, which I'm hoping will come into its own at parties later on. Keir needs 24-hour care. It became apparent that I couldn't leave him to go on an ordination retreat, even for a few days, as my preceptors had originally envisaged, because of his nighttime and medical needs. So he came too. We found a beautiful barn conversion in Devon to hire. It's a lot plusher than my Buddhafield season friends we used to. And Keir and I spent a week there with 10 friends, mainly from Buddhafield, plus my preceptors, Kalyanashri and Maitreyi. My friends took shifts in pairs to look after Keir, covering 12 hours of each day, and then I looked after him overnight. We had the baby monitor on in the kitchen, between the kitchen and the bedroom, and my friends would listen out at 7 a.m. for Keir stirring, and the door to the bedroom would silently open and 2 figures would creep in and lift him away from me so I could catch up on some sleep. Keir revelled in all the attention. And watching my friends with Keir at various points throughout the day and trying not to interfere was as much a part of the whole experience for me as the ordination itself. I had experienced a lot of loneliness after Keir's birth and felt cut off from the context that I'd put so much of myself into. The lifestyles of those of my friends working with in Buddhafield and my lifestyle as new mother to a disabled child seemed worlds apart. I'd felt disillusioned for a while with some of the friendships that had felt so strong in the context of working and practicing together, and I questioned what we had really been doing. Also, I'd been having some worries about my heart for a few months prior to the retreat. Turns out just to have been stress and exhaustion though. But what has scared me most about it, what would happen to Keir if I was to die, and the inevitable reflection that this would definitely happen at some point anyway. So seeing Keir flourish, my friends and Keir engage and communicate with each other, was both a reaffirmation of my connections, although hopefully my expectations are less naive now, and a profound relief. In a sense, it was my ordination, but also in a sense, it was a flowering of generosity, inspiration, and friendship, and real spiritual community. Over the years, I'd also battled with fear that I wouldn't be able to be myself if I joined the order. For example, at one point I was struggling to reconcile doing trapeze with an idea of being an order member, which I now see as my battle to include all of myself in the spiritual life. And perhaps an intuition that joining the order would actually open me up beyond myself, which has been and is my experience. I remember one day I was hanging out the washing to dry, which is a job I find strangely meditative, and I had an image of the formation of an oxbow lake, where water pools by the side of the stream and is out of the main current and lingers. And it seemed that stilled water was myself somehow. At that moment, it seemed like it would be really easy just to step forward into the stream, join the current. Not in the sense of losing myself, but in the sense of joining the flow and not holding back anymore. Being given my name in my private ordination felt like it was somewhere about this for me. It was like, oh, big name. It felt like I've been given permission and encouragement to be bigger and not hold back. Asking for ordination and taking the precepts in my private ordination was kindness. There was a sense of dropping into an archetypal realm where everything is rich with meaning, sacred. Everything has weight and intense aliveness. It was a very full week. I was so tired that I was practically in a moment-by-moment experience, one of the benefits of 3 years of very broken sleep. And I kept being surprised when things happened, like, oh yeah, I'm going to be given a caser now. So I have a very limited experience even, of actually being in the order. And to be honest, I am at times struggling to have a sense of what it means. I'm practicing with my own particular conditions and spending more time in hospitals and special needs centres than with friends in the FWO. But I made it to a combined regional order weekend at Tara Loka recently as an experimental attempt at attending an order weekend with Keir in tow. Keir and I were on mattresses on the floor, in the kitchen of the solitary suite. And Keir was really impressed by the acoustics and practiced his opera all night long. Hence, to be honest, we were both pretty strung out all weekend. But I did have a strong realisation during a puja. I felt that in a way it's not so much about me and my process anymore. Instead, I had a positive sense of duty to be the most I can be and to give to the world as part of this context, this order. I have a sense that I have joined a stream or current of positive intention and a shared myth of the noblest kind. Thank you.